Namaste, friends. I'm Mona Flynn. Thank you for joining me today in a two-part series on being attuned to sensitivities of a shoulder issue. Quite often, we do what we call preparations in yoga. That means we are having movement patterns that ready us for certain poses, practicing certain aspects of those poses, and readying the body not just for the resilience to tolerate a little bit more and having progression, but for really understanding ourselves in a pose, what we're really asking for, and how to improvise, adjust when we need to tailor any part of the practice to be unique to our needs. Today, we are going to focus on using a resistance band to act on the side of prevention for a rotator cuff issue or for a frozen shoulder, or just ensuring mobility of the shoulder with regard to the rotator cuff muscles. So I have an array of different resistance bands, a towel, a ball, a dowel, a strap. Not that you have to have all of these things, but to encourage you that you're going to have something at home that substitutes and that you can use. At first, we're going to review actions that would take us towards internal and external rotation of the arm from its shoulder joint. And so I'm going to use this resistance band. Mine happens to have some handles. You might have one that is a flat band. And then I'm going to make it a point to use a rolled up towel or to use a ball. I just happen to have a ball, and I could place it in between the elbow and the shoulder. And the reason that we would want to do it is that when we add this load and we have the elbow right against the waistline, all of a sudden we're at an angle, and the head of the humerus then begins to press against or to hang off the labrum of the shoulder, the soft tissue that is meant to support the ball and socket, if you will, of the design of the shoulder, how the arm sits in the shoulder. And we don't want to create any injury or tear or weakness in that relationship. So whether you use a ball or a yoga block or a pillow or a rolled up towel, this hand towel, it's going to give me a chance to keep the head of the humerus inside the labrum, inside the shoulder joint, and then to have what I want to access as far as a strengthening pattern. And I'm going to hook my band here at the bar and pretend that it is my doorknob. You could use hooking your band at a doorknob. But I'm going to practice first an external rotation. So I have the towel right between my elbow and my waistline, and my palm is facing inward, and I'm practicing external rotation. So I'm moving along the entire upper arm bone. I'm turning on its axis. And the arm moves as a unit. It just goes along for the ride. And I want to be careful to make sure that I'm not going to a place that's extreme and I start to do something strange like hook my shoulder or hike it up in any way, that I stay with great posture, ear to the shoulder, has great length. You do want to go to a little bit of exhaustion, meaning that you want to challenge that entire chain. And you will not just feel this, the outer arm, but you'll feel it in the outside of the forearm, through the outer wrist, the back of the hand. All of those muscles have a cinching up pattern. I want to go then the other way. So I'm going to turn around, and all of a sudden the resistance is on the other side, and I get a chance to do internal rotation. My palm still faces inward, and I come across, and the arm moves as a unit, and I'm moving on the axis of that upper arm bone, the humerus bone. I can sense and I can feel that I'm not tilting or I'm not adjusting. I am keeping good posture. It's just the arm that gets to move, and I'm not adjusting my rib cage any or fidgeting. But the more that you pull, the more that you increase the load, the more that you charge the legs, and the transverse abdominis comes into play, and it becomes rather functional and more than just about the shoulder and the rotator cuff insurance. You can appreciate that if you were to step away, then you increase the load, and whether you come back and do several sets of these or break them up through your day, then you are going to have a strengthening pattern. You'll want to do both sides, and in yoga therapy, we truly believe in trying to bring balance to both sides as we build strength, mobility, awareness. So taking the time to do both sides, all well and good. But where our preparations become a little bit more unique then begins to need us to pay attention to two more patterns of movement. And one is to move the arm forward, and the other is to pull the arm back. So continuing on with the shoulder, I could, from this hooked position, simply face the wall and pull down and back. My palm faces the wall back behind. Depending on where you are hooking, right, your resistance band, you want it from somewhere on the front side of you. The palm faces the wall back behind. And if you back up, the resistance is greater. As you step forward, the resistance is less. And you can tailor that to affect both the load and the range of movement. But now, going forward, we could keep it very simple and think, I want to lead with my thumb up, and I'm going to swing the arm forward and up. And this is a great way to not just strengthen the muscles that provide that rotational movement through the shoulder, but the rib cage, the side flank muscles, the obliques, all that comes into play through the midsection of your body. Notice how you're really using your legs. If you want to change the angle to allow for variety when you are without the wall or a doorknob, then think about both ends of your stretch band. And I'm holding one end here at my lower back. My palm faces the wall back behind. And I'm turning the arm that's going to swing forward so that it is palm facing forward, thumb side up. But I want to make sure to attend to one more aspect. And that is, instead of my arm working at a 90-degree angle, it's going to move slightly forward. And then I don't have any worry of impingement through the front of the shoulder. I can broaden, sliding the shoulder blade to the periphery of the rib cage, use the awareness and focus for that, bear into the legs, and then follow that arc. You'll be able to go past the height of your head. You can affect the load by what happens in the lower arm. You can take that lower arm so that you extend it, and therefore distancing your hands from each other, you increase the load. Standing with your feet hip width apart means that you give your structure more stability. Standing with your feet wider, you'll have more stability. But standing with your feet together means that you have a little bit of a balance challenge, right? How we use our foundation. So those would be the 4 actions that one could begin with. How do we find those places in our yoga practice? What translates to poses that really require internal and external rotation? And therefore, how are those poses used to help us maintain? One place is cow face pose. So if I were to focus on the top arm, I am encouraging external rotation and taking that arm back with extension. I am encouraging a rather extreme external rotation of that arm. Likewise, the arm below in cow face pose has this really great exaggerated internal rotation. It has a number of things going on. and trying to hook the hands together. So I could use my stretch band. I could help that arm and remind it, oh, it's going to stay in its plane. And I'm really focused on taking the elbow back and rather not out to the side. And then I can take the other arm from below and either catch hold of the resistance band or hook my fingers, 3 fingers. If you can, please do. But I'm just simply using the stretch band because it is here. I typically would use a strap. You could use a hand towel, a scarf, a belt, and to create that little bit of a tug then gives you a chance to build awareness and begin to learn more of what you're really asking each shoulder blade to do in cow face pose. But this is a wonderful pose that works simultaneously on internal and external rotation of the arm. If you will now, do both sides. And this is you on your mat at your own time. This part 1 of using resistance bands to create strength for the structure and release tension patterns, adhesions if there is a frozen shoulder, but to keep us on the side of prevention because we have many poses to practice and to understand whether we are enhancing or asking for or using external rotation or internal rotation of the arms. Thank you for your presence. Enjoy your practice. Leave your comment, share with us your experience, and any special requests for more. Namaste.